You're now listening to All Hog Sports, covering all Arkansas Razorback sports, such as football, basketball, baseball, and much more. Now, here's your host for today's show, Sam Stimson.
Now, Arkansas wrapped up a weekend at the SEC tournament with a loss in the semifinals, similarly how last season ended. However, this season they did beat LSU in the quarterfinal game. In the quarterfinal game, Arkansas went and faced LSU, a team that Arkansas has now faced 3 times this season and beat 3 times this season. Arkansas getting the sweep on LSU here is also interesting because Arkansas sent out Will Wade with a loss. He was fired for cause by LSU earlier a couple days ago, and his last game was a loss versus Arkansas. Now in this one, the health of Adis Toney was in question with his ankle, and he ended up being all good and good to play. He had 38 minutes and was huge for Arkansas, 22 points. He was 6 out of 11 from the floor, 8 out of 10 from the free throw line. He had 10 rebounds as well. Huge for him to get that number. Played defense on Xavier Pinson as well for LSU. Pinson was 1 for 6 from the floor, 0 for 4 from 3, and 4 points. Toney has locked up Pinson in the last 2 matchups versus LSU, which has been good to see. Toney, a fast, athletic wing, has been really a lead on defense, and his offensive game has been evolving this season as well. LSU and Arkansas in this game is really fast and good tempo game. You know, Arkansas has not been afraid to push the tempo this year, and I think it makes sense when you look at the half-court offense that Arkansas has and then the athleticism of Arkansas. Likes, Davis, Amude, Toney, Note, and Williams, and Wade, and even Kamani. I mean, that whole 8 that gets playing time are extremely athletic. This is a group that will give teams that aren't as athletic problems, and they use that to their advantage, especially when they're able to push and transition. And Arkansas, has had their half-court struggles, and it's gotten better over the season. But if you can get fast break opportunities and score, definitely want to take advantage of that. Arkansas out-rebounded LSU 42-28. Williams picked up 11 boards, Toney with 10, Wade with 7, and then Note 6, and Mude 5. Whole starting 5 had 5 or more rebounds, which is huge. Trey Wade had a nice game. He's usually not playing, 30-plus minutes per game with how Devo subs him out a lot. But he was really efficient at guarding a couple guys on LSU like Darius Days, Brandon Murray. He was really nice there. 7.7 rebounds for him. And I think the huge thing for Arkansas was just limiting LSU shooting. LSU can be turnover, friendly and look lost on offense at times, and Arkansas was getting those looks at certain times. LSU's a team shooting 35.3% from the floor, 18 out of 51 from 3, 4 out of 19, 21.1%. Really, Arkansas controlled the whole entire second half. The first half was a lot of back and forth, and LSU went on a pretty nice run, but Will Wade ended up getting a technical, arguing with the ref, and then cut the lead for Arkansas. I think Arkansas got 3 or 4 points with that technical, and then they kind of just took over at the end. Main thing for Arkansas here, though, they were able to do what they've been successful at all season, getting to the free throw line. Arkansas, statistically, their amount of points that come from the charity stripe is one of the highest in the nations, and they were able to do this. They got to the line 31 times and shot 80% from the line, which is a pretty good number, regardless of who you're playing. And then again, that defense from Toney, Wade standing out especially was huge. JD, 4 out of 14 from the floor, but that free throw number, 10 out of 13, has a lot of promise and understanding to that one. Yeah, so Arkansas, out of all 3 games versus LSU, honestly, this was the best one. Arkansas in the last 2 games really had to cut in the second half and get things close. And in this one, Arkansas ran away and won by 12 in the second half over LSU team. And I don't know, how much, I guess, distractions with the notice of allegations. And, it makes sense. Wade did get those allegations that said he cheated, and if the school gets the thing back that says, the notice of allegations, and then the team is, not playing as good, because that makes sense, just based off the measure, locker room, things like that. I don't know if that was the case, but LSU did end up beating Missouri to get here. LSU is 6th seed in the tournament. This really didn't do anything for Arkansas seeding. They're seeded as a 4 seed. Will play Vermont. I'll have a preview of that up on Wednesday tomorrow. But yeah, main thing for Arkansas here, though, good win against a 6th seed on a neutral floor by 12 points. Definitely take that. Now, next up in the semifinals, Arkansas faced a tough Texas A&M team who was red hot. They lost 82-64. Something that really reminds me of like the tempo and the flow of this game was the Oklahoma game, Oklahoma-Arkansas. Arkansas off to a slow start in the Oklahoma game, kind of cut back into it, gave themselves a chance, and then nothing went our way. At the around 12-minute mark, Arkansas was only down 3 after Mude ended up making a 3-point basket. So they went to that TV timeout, Arkansas, within 3, and then it just got away from us. A&M just got like multiple dunks in a row, multiple 3-pointers, and then it was basically out of hand, out of nowhere. And I compare those two games, two bubble teams in A&M and Oklahoma, both two teams who closely missed the tournament. This game for Arkansas, again, didn't really affect seeding that much, but Texas A&M really played well on offense. 50.8% from the floor, 53.34% from 3. When you allow teams to really open up from the 3 and shoot, Arkansas struggled this year, and you see it again here against Texas A&M. Arkansas had a lot of turnovers. We overreacted to loose balls. There was multiple times where we had passes where there was literally nobody who just go straight out of bounds. Jalen Williams, a guy who's been known to get a lot of assists for Arkansas, had 5 turnovers in this one, which was costly. Jalen had a bit of a not as normal, tournament for how he's been playing. Against Texas A&M, he had 4 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 turnovers, and then against LSU, he had 6 points, 11 rebounds. So just struggling offensively, not the best. 5 out of 15 from the floor, but it's a new opportunity. You can't take your looks from last game that you struggled with and not continue to have that offensive freedom that Jalen has had all year, because 2 bad games does not determine anything. But for Arkansas, get Jalen going in Buffalo will be huge for Arkansas's chance to make that second weekend of the tournament. Like I said, though, 15 turnovers was really costly. A lot of those overreacting to loose balls. A lot of times Arkansas would bite a lot of pass fakes, a lot of miscommunication on the floor. J.D. Note really did not have a good game in this one. 2 out of 8 from the floor, 0 for 5 from 3, 5 points. This was his first game all season, not scoring double digits, not in the stat box here as his defense. For a normal J.D. Note style defense, it wasn't there, and it makes sense. He had 3 personal fouls in the first half. Most of the time he gets 2 and then sits, but we were so desperate and out of the game that we needed JD to play. And when you pick up 3 fouls, you cannot play that same style of defense that you have all year. So Arkansas has to work on making sure JD doesn't get in foul trouble. That's been something that's hurt Arkansas all season. And it really is going to come down to when does this really stab Arkansas in the back. And it doesn't really matter too much in the SEC tournament. But if we get into games where we really need JD and he fouls out, that's not going to be good. You look at Baylor last season. JD was one of the few Arkansas players who could put the ball in the basket in that game, and he fouled out. You don't want that happening in this year's March Madness. Devo Davis, though, he looked really good in this game versus A&M. He had 11 points, 5 out of 12. Athletically, one of the top players on this team. Definitely could see him playing against some of the mid-major teams that Arkansas is looking at later this season, starting with Vermont. Really, though, it didn't mean much. And I'm not saying this based off of my personal belief, because I think there is some meaning to the SEC tournament, but the selection committee completely ignored the SEC tournament. Tennessee being a 3 seed after winning the SEC tournament is representative of such. Texas A&M completely missing the bracket is representative as well. Really, no seeding got moved LSU was a 6 seed. Alabama was a 6 seed. Both of those were expected. Kentucky, Auburn, 2 seeds. I don't know if it was because the championship was on Sunday. They didn't change it. But I do think it's frustrating. This Buzz Williams team really turned it up. I think the semifinalist of the conference in the SEC should make it most years. But, an Aggies team who closed out the season red hot and just couldn't get it done at the end. I think A&M definitely deserved to make the tournament for sure. But Arkansas has to rebound after this loss. Like I said, you can't get down on a loss and struggle for the NCAA tournament. You got to look at what did Arkansas do bad in this game, which is JD getting into foul trouble, not guarding from the floor well, not guarding from 3 well, and put that into work against a Vermont team who can shoot the basketball. Every single year last season, we heard a lot of Colgate over Arkansas. I was confident last year Arkansas was going to be Colgate, but I think Vermont is going to be much tougher out than Colgate. I'll have a full preview of that, though, tomorrow, watching a lot of film on them, getting some notes down. They've got fantastic center, Ryan Davis, be a good matchup versus Jalen Williams. And then I'll kind of look at Arkansas' side of the bracket and see who else they'll face too. So, yeah, you can listen to that tomorrow, but signing off for now. Woo pig suey.
That's all for today's episode of All Hog Sports with Sam Stimson. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode covering all Arkansas Razorback sports. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media too. On Twitter and Instagram at All Hog Sports Pod. Like on Facebook at All Hog Sports and Arkansas Razorbacks Podcast. And on YouTube at that same name. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Go Hogs!